Hey guys, I'm a little softer than usual because I had the pleasure of checking out a festival that actually caught my attention. It is called HealMeTooFestival. It's basically a production that's starting from now and it ends on April 15th, where they have a bunch of different plays that have been written out to sort of address the sexual harassment, rapes, sexual abuse. They touch on a lot of subjects in regards to the victims, the attackers, and I went to go see one of their plays today, and you're going to see little bits of excerpts from what I had seen, and I'm just going to basically give you my full-on review and just kind of just talking about the festival itself.
What was your experience like after you went on TV?
Well, you know, I'm not going to lie, it was a little dicey.
What do you mean by dicey?
You know, a lot of hate mail, people say mean things on the internet, a witch came to my house and left a cursed egg.
A cursed egg?
I think she was trying to put a hex on it, but it's fine.
Trump has the witch vote?
Even more so, I feel like some people painted me not as a strong woman, but as a victim.
Okay, so one of the things that I did want to discuss about the festival, why it caught my attention, was every female, and there are males who do this, so who have encountered these sort of situations as well. I don't want to just make it seem like it's only females, but primarily I do feel like maybe because I am a female, I feel like females tend to be targeted a lot easier because it's easier to sweep things under the rug. There are females that will be stuck in very unwanted, precarious situations. They'll get themselves stuck in a very undesirable quagmire where someone may be pursuing them, and some don't know how to say no, some don't, know how to fight. Some people really do freak out and they don't know how to manage when the situation is occurring. Sometimes it is your boss and you don't know how to sort of like deal with him because you don't want to lose your job. There's a lot of reasons why when someone is encountering that sort of situation from another individual who's highly persistent of either touching them, groping them, or doing way too much and even going to the extent of rape, it leaves a mark, and it controls a person in a way that it's very scary. So unless you've actually been in that situation, you actually don't know what it's like. So they do touch base on a couple of things, and I'll be honest, there was a couple of plays that were very aimed at the presidential candidate over the things that were coming out in the news, the Kavanaugh trials that had came out. There's a lot of stuff that had touched base on that, and then there's also personal experiences of what the victim of that kind of like situation would have gone through, and it shows an assortment, a bevy of emotions that consume the person like from within. It consumes their soul on whether they want to speak out or whether they don't want to. Some individuals will choose to be silent, to keep things within because they don't want the attention. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want to, put their families at risk. Maybe they don't want to show their face. And then there are some individuals who come to terms with what has happened to them and they don't want to ignore it, and they're like, hell no, I'm fighting back. It really depends on the person, and a lot of the times I do find that whether it's sexual harassment, sexual assault, people who are inexperienced with that sort of nefarious tribulation, they tend to be highly dismissive. They will treat another person, oh, they're lying, or what was she wearing, or she should have just said no. And the truth is, there are plenty of guys that you say no to, and no is not sufficient of enough of an answer. And I can personally just say, like, I've personally told men no, and then some of them are like, well, I'm going to pursue her anyway. And then when they realize I will punch you and I will fight back, they usually just go, you're such a bitch, like, why are you so mean? And I get the same response every single time because there are individuals who do not comprehend the word no. Leave me alone. It's mind-boggling because you can be vocal about it. you can speak your mind, and someone will just look at you and go, I have decided your words are irrelevant. I have decided that I selfishly want something and I deserve the right to take it from you. We're using it along the context of sexual harassment and sexual assault in this particular thing, and that is what the play focuses on. Now, a couple of things that happen with survivors is that they will often have guilt. They don't know how to comprehend or deal with the emotions that is coming from what they just encountered. And survivor's guilt comes in many different forms, but depending on the situation. But like I said, we're focusing on sexual assault and sexual harassment. Survivor's guilt, no matter how big or small the situation is, the individual will feel guilty about something that actually is not their fault. And it's a strange like defensive mechanism that happens, or where the mind just sort of shuts down like, well, you should feel guilty because you obviously did something wrong. And it doesn't help that the societal approach to a lot of these situations is, what was she wearing? You know, as if that makes it okay. You wouldn't apply the same logic to murder. You wouldn't be like, well, what was she wearing? That's why she got killed. You wouldn't apply that logic anywhere else. And it can be kind of scary for a survivor to sort of just speak out and know that they are not going to be condemned, that they did not do something wrong. And generally that is the first step for someone who had to encounter that, no matter how big or small. Accept that that is a life event that happened to them, as well as how they're going to recover, if they choose to recover at all, because the healing process does take a lot of time. So another thing that they address is, how do you vocalize? Do you choose to internalize it? Because yeah, maybe at that moment you're like, I'm being strong, I'm being strong, I'm being strong, but you're really just absorbing all of that emotion, that energy, because we're all just energy. You're just exchanging it, and it's just sort of funneling and building up and festering inside you. And they address that even when what you think someone else's reaction is going to be, you decide, okay, they're really thinking this. Like, I know they're being supportive. This is what they're thinking. When someone sexually harasses you or sexually assaults you, they actually take a piece of you. And it takes a lot, and it takes many years, it takes a lot of time to regain that part of yourself again and then come back out stronger like a phoenix. So that was something that they did address. There are many aspects when it does come to sexual assault, sexual abuse, sexual harassment. There are so many levels of it, and it's not just for women. There are cases that it does happen to men as well, and I think men are even more prone to being quieter about it, just because they feel like it's supposed to only happen to females, if you will. But when it does happen to a female, no one ever believes her anyway. They go, it's just a witch hunt, which is funny because the blame is always on the female, no matter what we do. It doesn't really actually matter. Which is one of the reasons why I do think it's very important for women to always stick together. It's very important to me to do that. If you cannot get along with the other female, just leave them alone. But that doesn't mean you cannot support each other when things are happening, when someone else needs an ear. Those things I do find to be very important, which is why I love this festival and I love what it represents. So another thing that tends to happen sometimes with survivors is there will be another female that will put their nose up like she's completely lying. And it's either one, they've encountered themselves and they don't know how to deal with it or manage it and vocalize or accept what has happened to them, or they've never encountered it and they've decided, much like certain individuals, like, she has to be lying because why on earth would anyone do that? And the truth is, there just are some really effed up people out there who will just take advantage of you, whether you're a child or a complete adult. If they have you by the balls, they're going to do it. There are just simply predators out there. That's just how it works. I don't care how friendly they look. I don't care how much they smile. I don't care how much they show they're friendly, they're great with kids. It doesn't matter. What really matters is what I've always told people. It's a person's intentions. It's not their actions. It's their intentions. That is the most important thing about anyone. I think it tells you a lot about their soul. And if that's the kind of person you would like to have around you in your life. So that was one of the things that I noticed that they did heavily address in these plays, dealing with, you know, this emotions and just a wave of rush of emotions that is internalized in you, and you're just sort of like dealing with it in your head, and you don't know how to vocalize it. Even for the people who do vocalize it, for the people who come home to their significant others because something happened and they don't know how to tell their significant other, this happened to me. There are many cases where that does happen, and sometimes they don't tell their husbands, they don't tell their boyfriends, so and so made me uncomfortable and he did this and blah blah blah. So it's very interesting. And the stigmata that comes behind vocalizing what has happened to you is incredibly heavy. And the reason why it's so heavy is because people are so quick to blame the victim. And it's terrible because then you have people who cry wolf, like Jesse, for example. It may not be sexual assault, but nonetheless, you cried wolf. And I hate that with a passion. Do not cry wolf. Because the issue is, there's two issues when you cry wolf. I don't care if you're mad at them. I don't care what your issue is. But when you cry wolf, and it happens to another person, everyone assumes that because you cried wolf, they cried wolf, and the people who cried wolf will jump on top of another person who it actually happened to and not support them and go, they're crying wolf. Why? Because you did it yourself. Now, I hope Jesse lives a long, wonderful life, but crying wolf, wrong. Because when those things do happen to another individual, they will utilize what your actions, your choices were, and use that against the person who it actually happened to. You're not making a statement, you're causing a problem. You're actually part of the problem. So I really did enjoy the HealMeTooFestival. I do think it hit a lot of points. It just touched base on everything. So whether you had a personal experience or not, it left you thinking.
So yeah, this happened, and I didn't come forward publicly, but even though I understand the reasons I didn't come forward, wanting to protect my loved ones and myself from physical and emotional harm and financial ruin, not wanting my life derailed and or reduced to association with this horrible person, and of course, fear of no one believing me, because people tend not to believe women, and women of color especially, but also fear of people not believing me in particular, because I'm not like the most impressive, the most credible person in the world. And we've all seen even the women deemed by society to be the most impressive, the most credible, even they don't stand a chance.
So my favorite play out of all the mini plays was actually the last one. I can't remember the name of it right now off the top of my head, because I literally just came in to like record. Rob, do you remember the name of it?
No.
So, what I wanted to say is that I liked how it sort of approached the mental steps that someone has to deal with when they're trying to, I guess, manage their situation. So they're sort of going through their thinking process, but they also added a comedic approach to it, which sort of made it a little lighthearted and allowed you to sort of question yourself but laugh at yourself as well. So I think that was very, very important to end the play on a positive note, especially from taking it from such a serious level. Now, the plays that they had in regards to Trump and the Kavanaugh, it was very interesting for them to tell the stories of these particular women and just listen in on it. I don't care if you are a Trump supporter. I do not care if you are a non-Trump supporter. What's important is listening to the story of a victim who had to deal with sexual assault, sexual abuse, or sexual harassment to a whole other different level. That is what is important. Not Trump, none of that. Just listening to the victim and for someone who needs an ear. Even if someone doesn't want to vocalize what happened, it's very important for that individual to know, I understand you are going through this very, very dark tribulation. However, regardless of how dark this occurrence is, you are not alone. And that is basically what you get from the festival. They have different plays that are happening like each night. And I think it's very important that, unfortunately, I can say this in the video, if you are in New York City and you know someone who was frequently or just recently sexually abused, sexually assaulted, sexually harassed, no matter how small or big the case is, I do think taking them to this play would definitely, or taking them to the festival to watch all these plays would be very beneficial to them, just so they understand they are not alone. If you're someone who's always been curious, you want to understand, you want to stand up for people who've had to deal with this sort of thing, go to the festival. If you are just looking for something else to do and you want to understand from another person's perspective who had to encounter something that perhaps you have not, go to the festival. I do think it is a very important topic to cover with people, and like I said, yes, I am focusing primarily on the females, but there are males who have encountered that, and I don't want to disregard them as well. I want anyone, whether you are a child, a grown woman, a grown man who's gone through something, you're not alone. And if you're definitely in New York City, I think this is definitely the festival for you. You don't need to speak, you don't need to tell anyone. No one sits in a room saying, "Kumbaya, my lord." No one's doing any of that. It's just actors doing their very best, going up on stage and telling your story without you even having to speak. I think that is the best way to describe this whole festival.
The story did not start when Michael Cohen called me. It started way before that. Decades before that. I don't think it'll surprise you to know that Michael Cohen, as is his specialty, took a bad situation and made it a shit show. I've known Trump for a long time. Longer than any of the other women who came forward. And by known him, what I mean is he's harassed me, grabbed me, chased me, been obsessed by me, and been a general predator since the moment that I met him.
So just to kind of like read out the plays. So the plays from this evening was the Pussy Grabber plays. Yes, I know you're thinking it's all about Trump, but it's not. It's really about the healing process in general for the victims. So I'm just going to read off the multiple plays that were there. There's 5 beauty queens walk into a bar. I know it's not as funny as it sounds because it gets really dark. But it's based on the bravery of Tasha Dixon, written by Julia Brownell. Then there's also Troublemaker, based on the bravery of Jill Harth, written by Sharon Rothstein. Then there's Rachel's, based on the bravery of Rachel Crooks, written by Haley Pfeiffer. Then the last one, which happened to be my favorite one, Credible Women, a play about the women who haven't come forward, written by Sam Chase. They were all wonderful. The actors did a phenomenal job. I loved the little sprinkle of humor to sort of lighten the mood. But they were very consistent in what they were saying. So the two that struck the chord with me the most was Credible Women. Just because when you're silent and you internalize that, having to find your voice in order to speak, or even if you even want to speak to begin with at all.
A problem of cognitive dissonance. Why do I feel guilty when I know I didn't do anything wrong?
Theory number 1. You feel guilty when you know you didn't do anything wrong because you did do something wrong.
How could you, Han?
So this is Karen, a friend of mine.
How could you, Han? How could you stay silent? How could you not come forward? You could have...
Sorry. Can we stop for a second?
Just try to observe the parentheticals here. They're like, how?
Oh.
Yeah, where is this?
Oh. Got it.
So Credible Women is a play about women who haven't come forward. So finding your voice is the most important thing. Whether you're going to keep it to yourself, you're going to tell a friend, regardless of anything, finding your voice is the most important thing. And then the internal thoughts that go through your head, even if your friend is being supportive. Credible Women does approach that. And then the other one was Troublemaker. That one struck a chord because when you don't want to say something and someone ends up finding something out, other people make a circus around you about what has happened. So I found that relatable because something had happened to me and I had an ex-boyfriend who was an ass, and he decided that telling everyone was the best thing to do. So what ended up happening is other people decided to get themselves involved, and they were like, well, I don't know, I think she's lying. Who did she tell? And I'm like, it's funny because I only told one person. And that became his tool to either bother me, whatever it was he was trying to accomplish. I have exes who've tried to accomplish many things. Many have tried, all have failed. However, in this particular play, as she was reading it, it struck a chord because she kind of was just minding her business, kind of wanted to just enjoy a friend. Someone invites her out to go check out something, and what ends up happening is an entire circus where her life is basically destroyed, which is what happens very often to victims because the victim is always blamed, which still is like very mind-boggling because the victim always gets in trouble for telling the truth. And it's amazing. What's funny is if you really think about it, and I mean really think about it, troublemakers will tell the truth. That's right. Let me repeat that for you one more time. Telling the truth will get you in trouble, but people always hate a liar. Go figure. So, what was interesting about Troublemaker, like I said, what I liked was the fact that, you know, she's just trying to protect her life, and even though she told the truth and was trying to stand by the truth, people decided, you are the problem. Stop telling the truth. Say the things that we want you to say because it makes our ears feel good. And that was addressed in there, which is another stigmata that follows behind, unfortunately, surviving any kind of situation like that. And it's silly because if someone attacked or harassed a pit bull and the pit bull bit the person, everyone will go, you were bothering the dog, and that is why the dog attacked you. If someone sticks their head inside of a lion and the lion is hungry, perhaps you know the lion is hungry, or you agitated it and you pissed him off, you don't blame the lion for biting someone's head off. If someone climbs up a very weak ladder and falls down to the floor, you don't blame the ladder, right? Like, there's just so many cases here that I feel like are probably a little bit like crazier that I can probably come up with. However, when someone who's dealing with sexual assault, sexual harassment, sexual abuse, and they tell the truth, suddenly the truth teller is the problem. Why? Why? Now, I mean, there are many useless reasons why someone chooses not to believe them, but it's never a legit reason. It's never quite legit. It's just always like, why would that happen? There's no question to it. Like, there's no logic. It's just like, what do you mean the sky is blue? It changes colors during sunset? What? That's exactly what ends up happening, and to me, it's ridiculous. Here's something that I think anyone should know, whether you believe someone or not. People who tell the truth are consistent. Understand, and I mean, I really want you to take the time to comprehend how difficult it is to lie. People will remember the damnedest of details, and I really mean it. They will remember random things like what shirt you're wearing, something you had on your hand, that you told them earlier that you ate pasta and it made you sick. When you lie, you can't, it's not just about keeping it up at that moment. You're not safe. That's not what happens. You have to lie then, right? So let's say it's June 1st, you lie, right? Told someone this great lie, you're like, score, I'm ahead. Then June 24th shows up and someone brings it up because they remembered some weird little detail about the lie that you told. So you need to remember exactly what you said and what your story is June 1st. Then, let's go down to October. For some dumb reason, it comes back up again. Now you have to remember what you told them on the 1st and the 21st and the 24th, and then as well as in October. You have to be consistent. It's a lot of work to lie. I don't think people understand that. And I'm not like a saint, but I am lazy. I am not kidding. I am extremely lazy. So if you question someone telling you the truth, you should not question if they're telling you the truth. You should question how consistent their words are. That's what's actually important, because then from there you can analyze, decide what you want about their intentions and about their explanations or whatever their explanatives are supposed to be. So it was very interesting watching Troublemaker, because their intentions was like, I really don't want all this attention, but yet their entire life gets ruined because they told the truth. It's an unfair way of punishing people for doing the right thing, and it's not right, because if that's how you're living your life, like, let's punish the people for doing the right thing, you can't question why there's mayhem. If you reward bad behavior, if you reward bad intentions, if you even give it a slight incentive, I think this is kind of okay, they will continue to do it. If you reward good behavior, people are more prone to doing good things. It can't just be one person, it's gotta be the whole group. You know, I don't know, try to be the change you wish to see in the world. But yes, Troublemaker, that was its main focus, on all the crap you get for telling the truth. And that's unfortunately something that survivors have to deal with. They're worried people are going to call them a liar. People are going to say, oh, you're just doing this for attention. Or, you know, what were you wearing? Something stupid. And that's a genuine fear immediately when something happens. Immediately. There's no like, okay, I'm going to tell someone, let's just say how this works out. Like, that doesn't happen. It's an immediate reaction. In fact, while it's happening, your first thought in your head is, no one's going to believe me. It's no one's going to believe me, so there's no point in even speaking. And that very reaction alone of being afraid to tell the truth and not being believed and not being cared for that something like that happened, it steals the voice of the person even more.
Sorry to bother you, sir, but
Tell me,
I just wanted to introduce myself.
what happened?
I work at Bayrock.
I know something happened.
And I figured since we see each other a lot,
I know you.
I should say hi.
I know when you're hiding.
What? I'm not.
I'm not.
I'm not a model.
Whatever it is, it's okay.
It's okay. From Ohio. It's okay.
It's not okay.
Why did you ask if I was,
What's not okay?
well, thank you, sir.
Tell me, please.
That's very nice.
You can trust me.
But
I won't hurt you.
what are you?
It's okay.
I just want to.
As he tries to hug Rachel 2, she suddenly screams. Rachel 3 screams. Rachel 1 watches, pain. The two other Rachels scream for a long time. Then Rachel 1 joins in. She screams the loudest of all. She screams for a very long time.
Also, for anyone who may know that someone is going through that sort of sexual abuse, sexual harassment, sexual assault, be there for them. Find them an outlet. There are hotlines you can contact where they can find someone either to talk to or even just listen to. Make sure you are there for them. It is a fragment of your soul that is basically taken, and you have to fight to get it back. So make sure you're there for those who do need it. And if you see something going wrong, if they're not willing to speak up, perhaps maybe you should speak up for them. It may not be the solution for everyone, but I definitely think showing that support does make the situation a lot easier. Also, as a side note, all the actors did a great job. I know, I got like mad serious. You guys are like, whoa, you're like usually hyper and like happy talking about like us and doppelgangers and like, you know, like other stuff. Like, yeah, I know, like I'm normally like hyper and like, ah. But yes, I did think it was very important to cover this festival, primarily because of my actual personal experiences. So with my personal experiences, I thought it was very important to cover a festival that was there to support others who have gone through this and just simply needed to just know they're not alone. So make sure you go check them out. Hashtag HealMeTooFestival. The hashtags will be around here somewhere. If I just fling my arms around enough, it'll just like appear somewhere. I don't know. Rob's doing the editing, right?
Oh yeah, put the pressure on me.
Yeah, no pressure. So good to be boss. Yes. But yes, make sure you guys check out the festival. Go to their websites, and they also do have a hashtag in there that you can actually get a discount to get the tickets for only $15. So make sure you use that hashtag as well. Their promo code in order to get the discount tickets. Again, if you're not located in New York City, that's fine. But just know you're not alone. We've all been there. And for those who haven't, try listening to the ones who have. Thank you. I don't know, it feels weird after being so serious and then going whoop whoop, like it just feels weird, but I guess this is the best way to end this on a light note. Sayonara.
The two other Rachels stop screaming and watch her. They let her scream. She doesn't stop screaming. Finally, Rachel 2 delicately approaches Rachel 1. She wraps her arms around her. Rachel 1 keeps screaming. Rachel 3 approaches Rachel's 2 and 1. She embraces both of them. Rachel 1 stops screaming. They all hold each other.
Is it okay?